Universal basic income is making its way from the fringes to a serious topic of debate thanks to a growing number of high-profile advocates.
I do think there's a pretty good chance we end up with a universal basic income or something like that due to automation.
We should explore ideas like universal basic income to make sure that everyone has a cushion to try new ideas.
This universal basic income would be the greatest catalyst to entrepreneurship and creativity that we've ever seen.
There will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better.
Okay.
What to do about mass unemployment? This is going to be a massive social challenge. And I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income.
A universal basic income is a policy where every citizen in a country gets a certain amount of money, free and clear, to do whatever they want. So my plan, the Freedom Dividend, would give every American adult $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, starting at age 18. This would create millions of jobs around the country and would allow families and individuals to help manage this historic transition that we're in terms of technology transforming the labor force.
Let's get a sense that you have of what you want this country to be. The Washington Examiner, in an interview with them, you said, we need to become both capitalist and socialist in different areas.
Yes.
What do you mean? You can't be both.
Well, so I like to quote my friend Eric Weinstein, who said, we never knew that capitalism was going to get eaten by its son, technology. And here in the 21st century, a lot of the economic rules we take for granted have stopped applying. You can build a very successful, profitable company that does not employ many people. And if it does employ people, you don't have to treat them well. You can make them all independent contractors and gig workers. So the things we take for granted have broken down, and we have to start solving this problem by evolving our entire system.
So what is it that made you run for this? I mean, you're a young dad besides. And you discussed this with your family. What was their reaction?
Well, I was talking to my wife about this just the other day in the car, when she was like, "What? How did that conversation go?" But as you suggest, I'm a father. I've got 2 young children, and I'm running because I want to keep this country strong and whole for them. I'm the son of immigrants. Yeah. My family benefited tremendously from the fact that I was lucky enough to be born here, and I want to feel the exact same way about my sons.
So were you inspired by Donald Trump getting elected, and that changed the dynamics?
Well, it certainly showed what was possible. But as I said at the opening, I believe that the reason why Donald Trump is our president is that there have been these fundamental economic changes that have displaced many manufacturing workers,
and they were his
retail
core
workers. Yes. And the Democratic Party, for whatever reason, is not trying to address those problems. They're attacking Trump himself or the symptoms, but the disease is this pervasive economic insecurity as we make it harder and harder for Americans to find meaningful opportunities. Well, I've been a CEO and business person. I met payroll many, many times. I believe that small businesses are the backbone of this economy. But we have to face facts, where a generation or 2 ago, maybe someone would have started a hardware store in their main street, but now with Amazon sucking up $20 billion of commerce every year, 30% of Main Street stores are closing in the next 4 years. 30% of malls are closing in the next 4 years, and being a retail worker is the most common job in the economy. So we have to start facing facts. And the entire socialism-capitalism dichotomy, again, is out of date and is breaking down. We have to try and take the best of both worlds and build an economy that centers around how people are doing. Take the markets and have them allocate resources in ways that would actually help families in Main Street America.
You speak a Main Street theme, but you're also educated at Brown. You went to Columbia Law. You're smart as a lick. But some will just go back and say, the guy's just an elitist.
Well, I just spent time with a trucker in Altoona, Iowa, and I rode around in his truck to see what his day-to-day life was. And I wrote a book, The War on Normal People, that breaks down what's going on in main streets around the country. I spent 6 years working in Birmingham and Detroit and Cleveland. And so showing up in these communities, I just wanted to help. And I've developed a real passion for helping the little guy or gal. I grew up the only Asian kid, like a skinny Asian kid who'd skipped a grade. And so I always felt like I had a thing for the underdog. I'm still a Mets fan to this day, as an example.
Well, that's your problem.
Yeah, I know. It has been a problem. But who's the underdog now in America? It's the Main Street American worker who's getting shoved to the side, and we're just not confronting it honestly.
We'll watch you very closely. Andrew Yang, very good having you, Democratic presidential candidate. He took a look around what was going on in the country. He said, you know what? I'm going to do that. It's not an easy process.
I don't think we're going to have a choice.
Universal basic income.
Universal basic income, I think it's going to be necessary.
So it means that unemployed people will be paid across the globe.
Yeah.
Because there is no job, machine, robot is taking over.
That's simply and I want to be clear that these are not things that I think that I wish would happen. These are simply things that I think probably will happen. And if my assessment is correct and they probably will happen, then we need to say, what are we going to do about it? And I think some kind of a universal basic income is going to be necessary. Now, the output of goods and services will be extremely high. So with automation, there will come abundance. There will be almost everything will get very cheap. I think I think we'll just end up doing a universal basic income. It's going to be necessary. The harder challenge, much harder challenge, is how do people then have meaning? Like a lot of people, they derive their meaning from their employment. So if you don't have, if you're not needed, if there's not a need for your labor, how do you, what's the meaning? Do you have meaning? Do you feel useless? That's a much harder problem to deal with.
This is not socialism. This is capitalism where income doesn't start at zero. And if you think about where Americans are going to spend that money, they're going to spend it at their local businesses, their Main Street economy. And this is a great way to help supercharge those businesses for the next number of years.